The Wi-Fi Whisperer. Hello friends, I'm your friend Raj, and you're watching Dark Vibes Official. Today I bring you another scary and true story, a tale that lives in the spaces between our digital pulses, in the silent hum of our routers. If you haven't subscribed to our channel, Dark Vibes Official, yet, then do so soon. And maybe, after hearing this, you'll think twice before connecting to an unknown network. Today, I am going to tell you the story of a digital ghost that can come to your home through your internet. A story I call the Wi-Fi Whisperer. The town of Cedarbrook was a place of quiet routines and predictable Wi-Fi signals. For 17-year-old Alex, it was a cage. The hallways of Cedarbrook High were a gauntlet of sneers and shoved shoulders. His name, Alexander Wren, was a source of mockery. Alex the Wren, the little bird who can't fly. His only sanctuary was the glowing screen of his computer in the perpetual twilight of his bedroom. While his classmates were captains of football teams and queens of homecoming dances, Alex was a master of a different domain. In the sprawling, lawless cities of the deep web and the intricate firewalls of corporate servers, he was a phantom, a legend. No one could compete with him at hacking. It was his language, his power. The bullies, with their simple minds and brute strength, had no idea that the boy they'd tripped in the hallway could, with a few keystrokes, empty their bank accounts or expose their most embarrassing secrets. But Alex never did. His code was his art, not his weapon. He was a digital pacifist, finding solace in the pure, logical beauty of ones and zeros, a stark contrast to the messy, illogical cruelty of high school. One particularly brutal Tuesday, after his lunch had been accidentally knocked into a puddle, Alex retreated to his room earlier than usual. The house was empty, silent, save for the hum of his powerful desktop computer. He decided to lose himself in a new project, mapping every wireless network in his neighborhood. It was a simple, meditative exercise. His sophisticated scanner painted a digital map of the airwaves. There was the Smiths 5G, Netgear AB2C, FBI surveillance van number 47, his own little joke, and a dozen others. But then his cursor stumbled upon something peculiar. It was a network that hadn't been there before. It didn't have a generic name. It was simply called ShadowNet. It was an open network, no password, no encryption, a digital ghost town, wide open and inviting. A chill, the kind he usually associated with a clever piece of malware, trickled down his spine. But his curiosity, the very engine of his existence, overpowered his caution. It's probably just a misconfigured guest network, he told himself. Maybe a new neighbor who doesn't know any better. With a click, he connected. The connection was instant, and the world didn't end. His internet worked fine. He let out a breath he didn't realize he was holding. See? Overthinking. He opened a browser, and that's when the first anomaly occurred. The screen didn't just flicker, it stuttered, like a film reel skipping a frame, and for that single frozen frame, his desktop background was replaced not with an error screen, but with a view from his own webcam. It showed his room from the perspective of his monitor. It showed him hunched over his keyboard, a look of mild confusion on his face. Before he could process it, the screen returned to normal. His heart hammered against his ribs. A glitch, a weird driver conflict. He was a hacker. He knew technology was fallible. But then, with a soft, mechanical whir that was deafening in the silence, the tiny LED light next to his webcam blinked on. A solid, unwavering green eye. He was frozen, staring at the light. His own reflection in the dark monitor was pale, wide-eyed, and then the screen went black. Not a powered-off black, but an active, living black. From its depths, an image slowly faded in, as if developing in a darkroom. It was a live feed from his webcam. But it was wrong. The contrast was too high, the colors desaturated into a grainy monochrome. The perspective was distorted, as if viewed through a fisheye lens. His room looked alien, the corners stretching into impossible depths. And in the far corner of the room, behind his chair, where a pile of laundry usually sat, stood a figure. It was tall, impossibly so, its head mere inches from the 9-foot ceiling. Its form was thin, elongated, a distortion in the fabric of reality itself. It had no discernible features, just a silhouette of static and shadow, a digital phantom, captured only by the camera's unblinking eye. It was standing in his room, right behind him. Alex's blood turned to ice. He whipped his head around, his neck cracking with the sudden movement. The corner was empty, just a stack of books and his old guitar. He looked back at the screen. The figure was still there, a digital phantom, captured only by the camera's unblinking eye. He slammed his laptop shut, the sound like a gunshot in the quiet room. He sat there in the sudden darkness, breathing in ragged, panicked gulps. It was a hack, a brilliant, terrifying hack. Someone had gotten into his system, activated his webcam, and was projecting a pre-rendered image. It had to be. He spent the next 2 hours running every diagnostic and security sweep he knew. He found nothing. No backdoors, no keyloggers, no remote access Trojans. His system was clean, as if the entity had passed through his digital defenses like a ghost through a wall. Shaken, he decided it was just stress, the bullying, the late nights. He was hallucinating. He needed sleep. He convinced himself so thoroughly that when he woke the next morning, the event had already taken on the hazy quality of a bad dream. The illusion shattered that afternoon. He was sitting in the cafeteria, alone as usual, scrolling through his phone, when a notification popped up. It wasn't from an app or a contact. It was a text message, but the sender was a string of garbled characters and symbols. I pa us this yesa. The message was simple. You're alone. Alex's throat dried. He looked around the crowded, noisy cafeteria. No one was looking at him. It was a prank, a cruel, clever prank. He typed back, his fingers trembling. Who is this? The reply was instantaneous. We understand your pain. We. The word was a horror in itself. It wasn't one person, it was a collective, a hive. Alex gasped, the sound lost in the cafeteria's din. Who was this? How could they know about his loneliness? This wasn't just a hack, this was an intrusion into his soul. He felt violated in a way he had never had. They hadn't just broken into his computer, they had broken into his mind. He shoved his phone into his pocket and fled the cafeteria, the laughter and chatter around him suddenly feeling like a taunt. The only person he could even think of telling was Maya. Maya was the closest thing he had to a friend. She was an artist, a quiet girl who saw the world in shades and shapes he couldn't comprehend. They were two satellites orbiting the same social void. He found her in the art room, meticulously adding detail to a charcoal sketch. He spilled the entire story in a rushed, panicked whisper. The shadow net, the flickering screen, the figure in the corner, the messages. Maya listened, her dark eyes thoughtful. When he finished, she put down her charcoal stick, leaving a smudge on the table. "Alex," she said, softly, her voice full of pity that made him flinch. "That sounds intense, but come on. A tall and thin man in your webcam? It sounds like a creep with a video filter. And the messages, maybe your phone got a virus from one of those weird sites you're always on. You're just overthinking it. You've been under a lot of pressure." Her logic was sound. It was the same logic he had tried to force upon himself. Hearing it from her made it feel more real, more plausible. He nodded, feeling foolish. Yeah, you're probably right." But the digital ghost was not done with him. It had tasted his isolation, and it was hungry for more. That same night, as Alex lay